I'm Frank Gunter, a professor of economics at Lehigh University. Spent 2 years in Iraq as an economic advisor to the U.S. government, and when I came back, wrote the book, The Political Economy of Iraq, which has done very well. The question came up concerning the future of Iraq. From the Constitution of 2005 until the rise of ISIS, the Iraqi government deliberately set out to create enough government jobs each year to provide employment for at least all the college graduates and hopefully for a good chunk of all the young people coming. Now that's a large number. Iraq is a very young country, very high fertility rate. Every year there's about 1 million young Iraqis become old enough to start working. Even if you figure jobs are opening up to retirement, even when you're taking into account the low labor force participation rate among women, the Iraqi economy has to create about 1/3 jobs every year just to stay even. Any year they create less than 1/3 jobs, the number of unemployed and underemployed young Iraqis goes up. Before the oil prices went through the ceiling in 2022, it was estimated that about 80% of all the young men in the Baghdad province were unemployed or underemployed. 40% of the graduates of colleges did not have a job. So it was a critical situation. Now that the oil prices went up, the Iraqi government has created 706,000 more new government jobs. That is a mistake. That is a mistake. There's no way that any reasonable expectation of oil prices in the future will allow the Iraqi government to create enough jobs each year to maintain, to keep the unemployed and underemployed army from getting larger and larger. We're talking about a country that has 42 million people, that within a decade is going to have 50 million people. The private sector has to create those jobs. And for the private sector to do so, 3 substantial changes are necessary. First of all, the regulations about private business in Iraq, I think, are accurately described as hostile. They were developed under Saddam. They are preserved by the state-owned enterprises, by the government bureaucrats that use them to extract bribes. If I require that you spend 167 days to get permission to build a warehouse, or you can give me an envelope with a couple $100 bills and I'll get you permission in 2 weeks, it provides a strong incentive for corruption. So first is to rationalize the regulation. You can use the United Nations, the World Bank. The World Bank has a very beautiful developing country regulations, or you could adopt those of, say, the Emirates, if you're concerned about cultural differences. So that would be first, rationalize the regulations about small businesses. Second would be the banking system. The banking system is moribund. Of the 2 largest banks in the country, 2 of the 3 largest banks in the country, Rafidan and Rashid, are bankrupt. They have negative net worth. The private banks are mostly small and intend to make most of their money in currency arbitrage, buying dollars on the currency auction and selling it across the street in the market. As everyone knows, the government is clamping down on such transactions, which is making many of the small private banks unprofitable as well. So rationalizing the banking system, bringing in maybe international banks, encouraging private banks to consolidate, refinancing Rafidan and Rashid, which has fiscal implications. And the third would be education. Iraq traditionally has been renowned for its education. Iraq doctors were renowned throughout the Middle East. That broke down during the war with Iran. It broke down further after 2003. Restoring quality education, not starting at the university level, but restoring quality education starting at the elementary level. Every Iraqi should, man, woman, and child should be able to read, write, and count. Right now, illiteracy, which was falling, actually rose during ISIS as a result of people being driven out of their homes and driven into the camps where they had limited educational opportunities. So providing universal literacy, providing high quality elementary and secondary school education, and then the tertiary education. I think if those 3 things are due, rationalize regulations, reform the banking system, and return to high quality education, then the private sector can create the jobs that Iraq needs in the future.